Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining me on World Awakening tonight. I apologize in advance for any coughing fits that might erupt. I have tested positive for COVID-19. I have given it to members of my family, including my parents and my sister Christine. So any warm thoughts and good energy that you can send our way, I would very much appreciate. I love you all, you know I do. And I keep you all in my circle too. So let's just do what we can. I'm, of course, most terrified about how my mother is going to react. But thankfully, we're all as vaccinated as it gets. And so with the antiviral meds that her nurse has her on, we are certainly hoping for the best. I wanted to make notes tonight because I feel like there's so much to say to cram into a 2-hour show. Oh, thank you, Mary Beth. Thank you, Yasser. Thank you. It sucks. It does. It's so awful. Thank you, Bill. So my throat is raw and feels like I swallowed a whole bunch of glass, and but the fever is gone, and I slapped a little makeup on, tried to look human for you tonight. Yeah. So that said, I want to. My viewing audience, wherever you're from around the world, you know what you're tuning into when you tune into a World Awakening. And sometimes what we discuss is very provocative. Sometimes even, I would say that it was even controversial. A lot, talking about paranormal, this and that, and them and them. But tonight, that's not what the show is about tonight. Tonight, it is about the paradigm shift that is occurring right here on planet Earth, right here in this country. And it would be irresponsible of me not to bring it to the attention of my viewers tonight. Some of you might disagree with my perspective. Just let it be known that, I have respect for your point of view. And I hope you will hear mine out, along with my dear friend, my star sister, Deb DeRousse. We spoke at length this morning, both of us. It's always, by the way, it is really always good to have a nervous breakdown with a friend. Always. Not that I didn't expect what has happened today, but on this day, June 24th, 2022, what I have personally feared has come to pass, and that is the overturning of Roe versus Wade, a law that has been on the books since 1973. And I don't need to scream and yell and shout. I'm too sad and somber to even express myself that way around this, because this is a body blow. This is a seismic shift on this planet, because the United States used to set an example for rights bestowed to its citizenry. And for the first time in American history, as of this morning around 10 o'clock, rights bestowed have been rescinded, and more than 50% of the population is targeted in this decision, in this frightening, horrifying first step toward rescinding numerous rights that we have fought long and hard for. I fought this fight decades and decades ago. So Deb and I spoke this morning, and we decided that The truth is that silence is tacit approval, and for us not to address this issue on this night would absolutely be a dereliction of duty. Now is the time for the rise of the sacred feminine energy. Now is the time where women must find their voice and speak up, and men of good conscience and character stand beside them and say, this will not pass. This will not do. You don't get to take our rights away, nor do you get to determine, anyone get to determine the autonomy of any woman's body and the choices that she rightfully has to make in a difficult world. I have often maintained that it is both a blessing and a curse to be born a woman anywhere in the world. We've got nothing to complain about compared with countless millions of other women all over this globe who don't have access to the same health care, who don't have access to contraceptives. They have no control over their bodies, over what happens in their lives. And I feel like we just took a step back into the dark ages. I feel like we just took a step. We just became Afghanistan. If somebody finds that hyperbolic, that's too bad, because that's exactly what has happened today. Rights that have been throughout my entire adult life have been retracted, removed, wiped off, wiped away, just wiped away. And old white fat men predominantly are making the decisions for what we, more than 50% of the population, can and cannot do with our own bodies, basically relegating us to human incubators. So we're going to discuss this tonight, and anyone who finds this subject matter offensive or doesn't want to stare the truth in the face or doesn't even want to participate in this conversation is welcome to go elsewhere, because there's plenty of paranormal stuff out there, and there's some really good people doing some really good work. And if you don't want to deal with this, and maybe you've been watching it all day long, and this is what you don't want to, the last thing you want to hear about tonight, if we were your paranormal escape tonight, we're so sorry. But with that said, I would like to welcome my dear guest, my dear friend, Deb DeRousse, to A World Awakening tonight. And Deb, I don't know about you, but in my entire lifetime, I have never felt, expecting this, have never felt so shaken to the core of my being, like the whole earth moved beneath my feet this morning. And I thought that I was prepared because the brief was leaked. I knew it would be practically identical. It was a forewarning. It was done deliberately. I knew it when it was leaked weeks and weeks ago. And this was just to forewarn us and to prepare us. And someone thought that maybe America should be given a heads up about what was about to happen. And we spoke this morning, a couple of texts back and forth. And I was like, screw this. I hit the little phone icon, got to talk to my girl. I don't know. I'm shaken, stirred, leveled, disgusted, and ready to fight the good fight, to fight it all over again on behalf of the daughters and the granddaughters who no longer have the rights of their mothers and grandmothers. Just gone with the stroke of a pen, with the release of a brief. It's over. And we are no longer autonomous human beings. And you and I both know, as we have discussed, that if men had the reproductive organs and were responsible for bringing human life into the world, there would be an abortion clinic tucked in the back of every single pharmacy in America. abortion on demand. Walk in, get it handled,
Absolutely.
and you're out. Because under no circumstances are they going to allow anyone to tell them what they can and cannot do with their own bodies. I don't know if you have had a chance to read the ruling. I read as much as I could stomach, and implicit in the ruling, which, we were promised that the court would be stacked and this is what we were going to get. This was the promise made 5 years ago. And so here it is. But implicit in this ruling, in the majority, 3 out of the 4 statements that I have read thus far, blames the woman. And that's always been the case. If a woman gets pregnant, it's her fault. If a woman gets pregnant, she didn't take the proper precautions. If a woman gets pregnant, the onus is on her. If it doesn't work out well, too bad. And that a woman signed in the majority for this, which we all saw coming, and they all lied through their teeth at their confirmation hearings, because you say whatever you have to say to get a lifetime appointment on the Supreme Court. And as of today, the Supreme Court, in my opinion, is an obsolete institution which must either be reformed or abolished, because they no longer serve the people. They serve themselves and their own ideology to the detriment of all of society. I'm sorry that 30% of the people in this country cannot see this for what it is, cannot see, and are absolutely certain that based on their own political agenda and religious ideology, that they feel absolutely entitled to force this ruling down our throats. But this law has stood for almost 50 years, months away from 50 years. And you told me a couple of things this morning that struck my heart. And I have some stories to share as well. Mm-hmm. So I want you to express yourself openly. Say whatever you want to say, Deb, and we'll take it from here, because this is something that is not only worthy of discussion, it is imperative. This is a wake-up call for a generation of young women in this country who have taken for granted the marching that we did on their behalf and have never, ever lived not being in control of their bodily functions and their reproductive organs, not for a moment in their lives. So this is something that we simply must address.
Absolutely. I first want to start by saying, Andrea, it's nice to be back. I'm very sorry about the COVID. My heart is with you. When we talked this morning, you didn't have that information. So I was a little shocked. And big healing being sent to you and Mom and Dad and Christine and anybody that's been exposed. I do want to say, hopefully you didn't have it enough to pass it when you were with Mom. So let's.
No, she's got it.
Does she?
She's got it, Christine. I gave it to Chris. Chris gave it to her because, gifts.
Okay. Yeah.
She's doing okay, though, and she ate a full dinner tonight, including a big cup of chicken soup and a grilled cheese sandwich. And,
good.
So she ate tonight, and that's so important, as you know.
Yeah.
I'm afraid the next few days are going to be nerve-wracking, to say the least. But my mother is very strong in spite of her frailty. Well, we lost Deb. She'll come right back. I'm sure she will. It's Michigan. It's a Michigan thing, I'm sure. I'm certain of it. Okay, everyone can see and hear you. Okay, good. Well, that's good. At least I'm on my show. Bill, if you'll just have Deb reboot, she should be okay to come right back in. There she is, and she's rebooted. It's Michigan, honey. It's Michigan, and it's the Galactic family, and it's the energy, and it's everything, and you're back.
And I'm back.
Yeah.
So, Yes, I'm very sorry about the COVID. We're going to get through that. We're going to get through that.
Yes, we are.
When we talked on the phone this morning, we were both so terribly emotional that we could barely speak, although we did a lot of speaking.
Yeah, but we searched for a lot of words.
We did.
Because it's like nothing would even come. I couldn't, I couldn't wrap my head around it. Neither
Right.
could you.
And I think a lot of people, and I do have to say women and men, I've talked to, a few men who are very upset about this, are feeling the same way. It's the overwhelming sadness mixed with the anger.
Yeah.
This is very difficult to deal with. You talked about, we did have a heads up. And this morning I was sitting there thinking, this reminds me of when my mom passed, because I knew she was passing. She'd been on hospice. I sat with her. I knew it was coming. But when that last breath came, it was as devastating as it would have been if I didn't know. And I felt that way this morning, and I'm still feeling that way.
Yeah.
It's like, we knew this was probably going to be the case, but at the same time, we kept the hope that this really couldn't happen. Not in, 2022. Come on.
I know.
January of 1973 is when Roe versus Wade came into effect.
January 22nd, 1973.
Yeah. We also talked about, some of the young women today have no idea how devastating this can be. We know people. I knew people. I was friends with people who, desperate measures tried to abort using a clothes hanger, a metal clothes hanger. One friend died, bled to death before anybody could get to her. This was almost the norm.
Yeah.
My first husband was adopted because his birth mother died giving birth to him and knew she was going to. She didn't have the right to do anything about it.
Right.
So this is way bigger in my eyes. This is way bigger than abortion. This is not only about abortion. This is about everything. This is our rights across the board. We talked this morning, the next thing to go is contraceptives. And then next thing to go is same-sex marriage. Everything, all of our rights. Even with Roe versus Wade, if you read it, there's so many crazy, insane laws in there. Before Roe versus Wade saved us, it was illegal for certain family members to even live together. We didn't have the right to privacy. We didn't have the right to our own body. We didn't have the right to make our own medical decisions, especially as a woman. So this is something that, I'm just.
We didn't have the right to own privacy. To own our own property. Right. 150 years ago, there were places all over this country where no woman's name would be on a deed to any piece of property,
exactly.
Including the house that I grew up in. The Arnold estate began as the Richardson homestead.
Oh, wow.
And through marriage became the Arnold estate because girls were not able to inherit that property. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And this is a quantum leap backwards.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody that likes the idea of abortion. Not anyone.
No.
And if we as a society had been mature enough decades ago, as medical science improved and as contraceptives were invented, if our population had been properly educated, and if we had equal access to all of this, basically everything that has been at our disposal lifelong in terms of contraceptives, whether it be IUDs or the pill, or, there are any number of ways to protect oneself from becoming pregnant. And then there are those instances where we cannot protect ourselves because of rape or incest. The infant mortality rate and the maternal mortality rate 150 years ago, if you walk through any graveyard in New England, you will stumble across tiny little gravestones that don't even have names etched in them, because it was considered bad luck to name your baby before it was a year old. We don't need to go back to that.
No.
We have, this touches all of us. And my attitude has always been, particularly with women who wanted desperately to see this ruling overturned. My attitude has always been, if you do not approve of abortion and you don't want to have an abortion, you shouldn't have one. Nor do you have a right to impose your belief system on every other woman in the United States of America.
Right.
Whether that is a philosophical point of view, whether it is a religious point of view, you cannot impose religious beliefs on a secular society and have that work, because everyone lives here. Every religion on the planet is represented in this country. Every mindset is represented in this country. And women worked long and hard to claim autonomy over our own bodies when that had been denied to us for centuries.
Right.
And we're not going back. And we have to do whatever we have to do, whatever it takes. I posted this morning, Roe v. Wade is overturned. This is war.
This is war.
And you know what? Here's the thing. If people think that Black Lives Matter is a movement, they've not seen anything yet. Right. They haven't seen anything yet.
Combine
this is
those.
About, because McConnell has already promised all he wants is the Senate back. All he wants, he has promised two things: that there will be no more appointments to the Supreme Court during the Biden administration, and that the moment that he is in a position to do it, he will criminalize all abortion from coast to coast, period.
Right.
And now is the time for us to say to the men of the world, like Putin, who holds the sword of Damocles over the head of the whole world, over Kim Jong-un, who's playing with ballistic missiles, to Donald Trump, who promised to stack the court and overturn this law that has been the law of the land for half a century, a humane law, by the way.
Yeah, it's a constitutional right.
And well, except that the word abortion does not appear in the Constitution. And those who framed their lame excuse for a ruling today used that as part of the excuse. Well, guess what? The word woman doesn't appear in the Constitution either. And yet here we are. Here we are on June 24th of 2022, fighting for our rights all over again. Fighting for our daughters and our granddaughters, fighting for them to have the same kind of freedom and autonomy that we have cherished over the course of our lives, the bulk of my adult life. And actually, in fact, my entire adult life. I have to say this, and I want to share this, Deb, and I want you to feel free to share your stories as well. And I do this with my mother's permission, because to say that she is devastated by this is the understatement of the new millennia. In 1968, when I was 10 years old, my mother got pregnant with baby number 6. And the fetus died in her womb. And she was getting sick and went to Notre Dame Hospital in Central Falls, Rhode Island, because she knew that she needed a therapeutic abortion, that she had a dead fetus in her womb, and she was becoming toxic. She was getting, her eyes were turning yellow, her skin was turning yellow. My mother was slowly dying. And they turned her away. And my father had to make arrangements for my mother to have a back alley abortion. And down on the floor in a kitchen with a nurse in South Providence laying on newspaper, my mother had an illegal abortion. The baby did not pass. The fetus did not pass. And my mother became increasingly ill. She was taken back to the hospital hemorrhaging at Notre Dame Hospital, which was a Catholic hospital in the state that was founded on 2 principles: separation of church and state, freedom to worship as you please. Those are the 2 tenets on which Roger Williams founded the colony of Rhode Island. There was a meeting of doctors as my mother lay bleeding to death. And included in that meeting was a priest. And his ruling, and he overruled several of the doctors who realized that my mother's life was in mortal jeopardy, with 5 living children at home, overruled them and said under no circumstances would that procedure happen at Notre Dame Hospital, a Catholic hospital. My father, enraged, went into my mother's room, lifted her up in the pool of blood in which she lay, and the blanket she laid on, and put her in the car and drove her to the east side of Providence to the Jewish hospital, and they saved her life. And they broke the law to do it. Yeah. And so one priest was perfectly willing, on what principle, to allow my mother to die, to bleed to death with a dead fetus in her womb, leaving 5 living children alone to fend for themselves in this world with only their father. And I witnessed all of this. I was home alone with my sisters for 2 days. My father never left my mother's side. And I had to, as a 10-year-old, take care of my 4 younger sisters, not knowing if my mother was dead or alive, not knowing where she was, not knowing where my dad was, not knowing. I mean, it was finally after the second day, he had called my meme, and she came and stayed with us until he was able to bring her out of the hospital. And it took months for her to recover. Months for her to recover from the devastating physical onslaught which needlessly occurred and very nearly claimed her life. Now, I will, having witnessed what I did, having been the one that held cups of tea to her lips while she lay in bed, I will, with my last breath, defend a woman's right to have a safe and legal abortion in the United States of America. And I will not rest. I will not rest until that is accomplished and until this argument is over. And I understand anybody that doesn't want this procedure done, anyone who thinks that, murdering, a clump of cells, anyone who thinks that, this has, our rights have been extended too far. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. I am just telling you from my own personal perspective that my mother almost died because she could not get the health care that she needed and so desperately required in the state where that should have been the last issue discussed at the table, if at all. If at all. I don't care if it was a Catholic hospital or if it was a Jewish hospital or if it was a secular hospital. Healthcare is healthcare is healthcare. And to have that right extended finally so that women could be protected in 1973 and then have it surreptitiously and overtly ripped away from us in 2022 is beyond my capacity to comprehend that this is where we are, that we are here.
Yeah, we are here. And Annie, yes, everybody has the right to their opinion. And I'm going to quote my child here. Opinions are about how you like sex or what food you like. Opinions have no place in our constitutional rights. No matter how it's worded, every human being has the right to make decisions about their own body, about their own health care, about their own gender, about everything, as long as we harm none, and we're harming none. Personally, my opinion is that everybody has that right. A little story, and I've got several. When I was younger, I was raped. Thank goodness I did not have to have an abortion. I was 12 years old, and I remember being absolutely terrified and knowing that some people would do this to abort. And I knew that if I had to do that, I would. Luckily, I was not put in that position. I don't think most, probably 98% of all women would choose not to have an abortion unless there was a really, really good reason. It's not something that most people would do lightheartedly. But like we talked this morning, this ruling affects everybody. Everybody. Some women might say, I would never have an abortion. No, that's wrong. But then they're faced in 64 years, we've met a lot of people. Yeah. I've met more than a few women who have said, I was totally against abortion, but I had to have one. That was so hard for me. Should there be some stipulations? I don't know. I read a little bit, I had a busy day, so I didn't get a lot of reading in today, but I kind of scrolled Facebook really quick before coming on here, and I was surprised at how many comments there are out there. And people saying, it's celebrating that this is here. We're going to save the babies. This is not about the babies. This is not about babies. If it were, yesterday's ruling wouldn't have happened.
Right.
Now, that's my opinion. That's an opinion. Okay.
Yeah.
But this affects everybody, because even if a woman says, I totally don't believe in this, that's against my ethics. What if her daughter or granddaughter's life depended on having an abortion? And like with your mom, one of my granddaughters miscarried a baby. Now they kept doing blood work, and her levels kept coming down. The fetus would not come out. And they told her, if you have so long, if this fetus doesn't abort itself, we're going to have to do a D&C.
Yeah.
Well, now that would not be legal.
Right. And so she would get toxemia.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, I'm beyond words.
Yeah.
As we were this morning, the emotional aspect to this, seeing the minority, and I'm firm on that. This is the minority making these decisions, and
For the majority.
how are we allowing this?
Yeah.
How in the hell are we allowing this? No.
No.
No, it's time to stand up and say, hell no. They can't keep taking our rights. It's time for war. We have to stand up and say, no more. And it's going to take everybody, or many, many people. But the majority feels the same way we do.
I cannot comprehend how women would willingly relinquish their own rights. That's something that I simply cannot comprehend.
Right.
I can't. And, not a few, not a handful, millions,
Right.
millions of women. And, I have felt for a long time now, like the women's movement in this country has failed, and that we have to start all over again. That it's so easy to just take things for granted. This is how it was when I was born. This is how it will always be. There's millions and millions of women in this country that were born into the era of Roe v. Wade.
Right.
And have never known anything but the freedom of self-determination, have never known anything but, I wonder if the Equal Rights Amendment had actually passed, if this would be a different argument now, where the woman would be represented in the Constitution as having the same equal rights bestowed upon her as any man that walks this land. If that would have been what made the difference. And God knows I marched my feet bloody for that, and marched and marched and marched. I'm ready to go to Washington again. I will go wherever I must. I will say whatever I must. I have this platform and this forum to speak out. Yeah. And the thing that I have to say is that it would truly be, in my opinion, a dereliction not to draw to the attention of those that are watching how this is a part of our world awakening.
A huge part.
Yeah. There's only one way to defeat this.
Yeah.
There's only one way, and that is to codify Roe v. Wade into the law of the land, so that this radical Supreme Court won't be able to put its hands on it anymore. And very likely we are going to have no choice but to amend the amendment and reintroduce the Equal Rights Amendment, including language that protects a woman from interference in the autonomy of her own body and her own decisions when it comes to her reproductive health. And I think that we're just going to have to take this big step. And this is, it should be unnecessary, but obviously it's time to mobilize in a way that we have not mobilized in 50 years. So I'm tired. I don't know about you, Deb, but, I've done an awful lot of fighting and protesting and asserting myself on behalf of all women, whether they agree with me or not, for them and their children and their grandchildren and whatever circumstances might present themselves. There are several things that have not even been discussed here yet today in these states that are banning abortion completely. And that is that an average of 1 in 24 pregnancies is ectopic, which means that the egg and the sperm unite inside the fallopian tube. And the fallopian tube can only handle that duplication of cells to a certain point before it ruptures. And very often death resulting, certainly of the fetus and frequently of the mother, if it is not attended to. What happens when a woman has an ectopic pregnancy? Could very well have wanted that baby like air to breathe and had to deal with the devastating news that it was not a viable pregnancy. Where does she go? Who's going to help her? Who's going to pay for a trip to another state or even out of the country in order for her medical needs to be met in a timely manner so that she survives this horrific turn of events? And that's the thing that has been lost, I think, is the ability for us to put ourselves in the shoes of others, the ability for us to empathize with that young girl who has been raped by her father and is now carrying her own sibling and has no place to go and is terrified out of her mind. Nobody today has discussed the fact that prior to Roe v. Wade, the incidence of young women predominantly who found themselves pregnant and hopeless took their own lives. So it resulted in 2 deaths, not 1. We always talk about, the botched procedures done at home to try to, take matters into their own hands. But it's so much more than that. It's so all-encompassing. And this will affect as many men as it does women. It will. I mean, this is, we are truly at an inflection point now. Right. This is it. I think this was the last shoe to drop. Here we are teetering on the precipice, if not already involved in a full-blown World War III, in the midst of a global pandemic that is just morphing and morphing because not enough people have been vaccinated to keep that from happening. And the same people that say, when it comes to a vaccine, my body, my choice, are a lot of the same people who are now saying, your body, my choice.
Exactly.
And it's untenable. It's inexcusable. It will not stand. And, and the fight begins anew.
Yeah.
The spiritual warriors among us, rise up, goddess. Rise up and take control of your own life and do whatever you have to do. And for God's sake, vote, because this will be the number 1 issue on the ballot in November. The number 1 issue, when more than 70% of the people in this country believe that abortion rights should remain safe and legal. And a Supreme Court that says, we don't care what you think, and we don't care how many of you think that.
Right.
And based on their own their own ideological persuasions based on what they promised going in, how much they had to lie to get into a lifetime position, matters not. So as far as I am concerned, all of this is amoral. All of this will result in the needless deaths of women and girls who are well beyond viability themselves, who have lives and who have dreams and hopes and aspirations, and things happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no consideration for those things that can happen.
No.
Everyone who is against all abortion in any case would not hesitate to do what they would have to do to save the life of a loved one in crisis who required an abortion. This is not going to affect rich white girls.
Right.
This is going to affect so adversely the poorest among us, the brownest and the blackest among us, who are already living on the fringes, who don't have access to health care at all, who find themselves pregnant and desperate and nowhere to turn.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is an aberration. That, to me, is just another form of misogyny and racism, sexism in the extreme.
Yeah.
And it relegates all women to the status of second-class citizens with no formal rights of autonomy over their own bodies.
Right. And like we said, this is only the beginning.
It is. It is.
We will lose all human rights very quickly if we allow this.
Well, Judge Thomas, who has no street cred with me, by the way, and never has since the Anita Hill confrontation ever. And God knows his radical nut job wife, who, really, we're dealing with this, right? In the United States right now, we're dealing with this.
Yeah.
His addendum in this ruling basically said, and we're coming for your other rights that were based on this as well. And fuck stare decisis.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. He wants to see gay marriage overturned. I don't think he'll touch interracial marriage for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
However, he is squarely against LGBTQ people having rights in America. Yeah. Is against gay marriage, is against this, is against that, is against the other thing, is against in vitro fertilization, is against all forms of contraception.
Yeah.
Dark ages. Yeah. This is dark ages.
Oh, very
and
dark.
The same man that thinks that it is perfectly appropriate for anyone in this country that wants to carry a gun in public to be able to do so. That was yesterday. Yeah. And this is today. Don't tell me you're pro-life when it's perfectly okay. Don't tell me you're pro-life when in the wake of Uvalde, in the wake of Buffalo, in the wake of one mass murder after another in this country, you vote against any kind of sensible law that prohibits people from concealed carry. And so that you can walk down the streets of New York City and not look around you and wonder how many people have a gun on them.
Yeah. And when is someone going to start shooting?
And
we have
when?
No idea.
Yeah.
And
is it going to happen when I get on the subway? Is it going to happen if I step into Central Park? Is it going to happen when I go to the theater? Is it going to happen if I hop a bus?
Yeah.
When's it going to happen next? When next?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
we are at, as I said, an inflection point
Mhm.
where we must, as a society, examine what our priorities are, because I'm looking at this situation in America right now, and kudos to the bill that passed today that puts some modicum of rules and regs into place on the same day
Yeah.
that, but this is so counterintuitive to me, because I just don't see how mass murder with firearms is okay, but abortion is not,
Right.
especially when, a woman's body, there is an evolution that is a process. People don't even study this stuff anymore. But
Right.
the fact is that for the first couple of months, a lot of women don't even know that they're pregnant and still menstruate and still, are growing this little clump of cells in their womb. And it has not even triggered the hormones that are generated by the thyroid. That's what is required and what is indicative of a pregnancy.
Yeah.
That's what the pregnancy test
Mhm.
reads, are the hormone levels from the thyroid. Women that have low functioning thyroids might not know until their third month that they are pregnant.
Right.
And it's different with every single one of us. We're each unique vessels and beings. Uh, there's just something so fundamentally wrong about
Right.
this ruling, and
Oh,
so fundamentally wrong
yeah.
about the ruling yesterday. What it affirms and reaffirms are two things.
Yeah.
Number one, that America loves its guns more than it loves its people. And I truly do believe that. I
Yeah.
truly do.
Yeah.
And secondly, what it affirms is that we still live in an utterly misogynist society, and that there are millions of women who buy into that notion
Yeah.
and refuse to claim their rights and to acknowledge their rights as equals in the United States of America. And that was a rug ripped out from underneath us after 50 years of us being able to call the shots about what does and does not happen with our bodies and how we want to plan our families, and what horrible incidents might have occurred that create complete and utter upheaval in our lives. And the one remedy that was at our disposal for half a century has just disappeared before our eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's going to keep disappearing if we don't. Number one, vote. People have to vote. This is so critical. If you don't vote, we're screwed.
Yeah. And if you
We
don't
really
vote,
are.
we can't complain.
No.
That's our job as citizens. 85 million people in this country who are eligible to vote did not in the last election. 85 million people in this country who are eligible to vote didn't fucking bother.
Right. Right.
And until that
Exactly.
changes,
And do
until
you
this
know,
apathy.
many of the people that were at the Capitol on January 6th did not vote.
Yeah. But they didn't like the outcome.
Right. But I'll leave that one alone. But I will say, many of these people, Annie, the scary thing is, have the idea, the whatever, the belief that many people simply don't have the right to live. These times, and we've said it before, it's like the Nazis all over again.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. And now it's women, it's people of color, it's gays, it's trans, it's the whole LGBTQA spectrum. Anybody who is different, anybody who is not a white male, many people believe they don't have a right to live. And this is going, I mean, we're saying we're set back 50 years. I feel like we've been set back a few
150.
hundred. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is totally mind-blowing, absolutely mind-blowing. But it really is time, people, run for office, vote, do whatever you can do, stand up. You know, some of us don't do a lot of protesting anymore. I've done a lot in my day, as you have. You know, I don't do well in the heat, and I don't do well on my feet like I used to when I was younger. But we have to find a way to do what we can do and do it to the best of our ability, because other people's lives depend
Are at stake.
Yeah. You know, this does affect men as far as, well, the whole thing, you know, the right to privacy, the right to families, the right to raise our kids. That's, you know, all genders. We're going to lose all rights if we don't do something. So now we have to declare war.
We have to declare war.
We have to say we're done. And again, I'll say it's the minority that is choosing how we as human beings in this country live and who we are and how we love. And are we going to continue to allow them to do that? You know, I don't know the answers, but I know that we have the numbers. We have the numbers.
Yeah, we do have the numbers. And we have to increase the numbers.
We do.
And we have to take control of our own destiny. And women are going to have to be the ones that stand up and lead this march, you know, with sword and shield.
Yeah.
You know, this is everything that I feared, and what we fear so often comes upon us. And I'm not the only one. I know hundreds and hundreds of women who I've talked to just in recent months that said it's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And now here it is. Yeah. And here we are. And so we have to speak up. We have to speak out. Mm-hmm. We have to do whatever we can to lift up those among us who are in desperate need of help, and, you know, maybe might need a ride, might need some funding, might need, you know, there's just going to be, you know, the thing that's shocking to me is that Alito had the balls to say, in his opinion, that this subject has been very divisive in our society. You think it was divisive before this morning? Honey, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Right.
Nothing yet, because this has, I mean, once the shock that they actually did it, once that shock wears off, and the sorrow and the grieving, the anger will rise.
Yeah.
The anger will rise. I'm personally really tired of being angry. I'm really, really tired of it. I feel like, and, you know, we talked about this morning too. This is fundamentally altering who I am. The rage that I have been living with for about 6 years now. Rage. Yeah. That I cannot circumvent. I cannot dismiss. I cannot let it go unacknowledged.
Right. I
don't care who it alienates. You know, I mean, I'm sure there are people that watch me and go, wait a minute. I thought you were the ghost lady and the ET lady. And why aren't we talking about that? Well, you know what? What we're talking about is not exopolitics right now. We are talking about geopolitical issues that must be resolved, and we must ultimately come down on the side of humanity, because women's rights are human rights. And what happened today is dehumanizing. What happened today, this retraction of rights extended and accepted for half a century, the lives that have been saved because of the original Roe v. Wade ruling, to have that undone, just undone, turned off, just like a switch,
Yeah.
and being gleefully celebrated around this country by the likes of Ted Cruz and Greg Abbott, by the likes of Ron DeSantis, by the likes of numerous governors who set all of this up. This is, make no mistake, this has been in the works for decades. This has been a plan put in action for decades. For Mitch McConnell to stand on the floor of the Senate of the United States of America, where we as a people are supposed to be represented, and to say that he will do everything in his power to criminalize abortion in all cases from coast to coast the moment he has the opportunity to do it, should be a clarion call to every single person of conscience in this country, because what he declared is fascism, and it should be called what it is, fascism. And it is on the rise in this country, and it must be squelched. And what we have claimed to be our own must be retained under all circumstances, without exception. And so, my dear, we begin again. I'm not too old to fight. I'm not too old to drive to Washington. I'm not too old to write commentary to all of the major newspapers. I'm not too old to get on this show and speak my piece to anyone who listens. Amen. I at least have an outlet and a forum. At least I have that. And now, because of that, so do you. And so do many others. And I have been on the phone all day long, burning up with fever, coughing my lungs up, and listening to my friends rant and rave and sob and scream. And I've just listened, because I feel every bit of what they are expressing, the emotions that have risen to the surface here. This is some bitter, ugly bit of business, and it will not stand. It will not.
No, it will not, because we need to put an end to it. And you brought up the fact, it's been about 6 years, and our country has become very divided.
But it was before, but now it's been deliberately divided.
Deliberately in a way divided. That it has not been in our lifetime. It's really, really time. And I know I've said this again or before, but I'm going to say it again, because now this is the most important time that, people have to wake the hell up. Wake up, unite, and stand up for everybody's rights. Everybody's rights.
Because no one is free until everyone is free.
Exactly.
And that's the truth.
It's that whole collective consciousness. We truly are one. Is there darkness in there trying to dim us, destroy us? Hell yes. But we can't allow it. We have to turn the lights on. It's time. And it's time to unite. This division, the red and the blue. Wake up, red. just because you have a political liking, and, you know, and I'm just going to say this, Republicans aren't what Republicans used to be.
That's right.
We're really not.
At all.
It has never been
Unrecognizable.
Right.
Used to be a party that was, had principles and
Right.
that had, a point of view, of states' rights, and this is a republic, and it's absolutely unrecognizable to the party of even a couple of decades ago.
Right.
It's cult now, and I can't. I can't, like,
right.
Really, this is.
Yeah,
like all falls at the feet of one man and those who have supported him. All of this. Yeah. And yet the people who most need to watch the revelations coming out of the hearings in Washington and the January 6th commission are the ones that have it on planned ignore. Oh, see no evil, hear no evil.
Oh, exactly. Or they comment that, it's all a lie.
Well, yeah, and that the people, the Republicans of honor that stood up against the full frontal assault on our democracy have to have full-fledged security details now because their lives are being so routinely threatened, and the lives of their families, by individuals who think that it's perfectly okay to just take what we want and are perfectly willing to buy into a plethora of lies. And the biggest lie of all, that we are now at a point where our country has been fundamentally altered, and I'm afraid permanently altered, by this horrific turn of events. All of it is a part of the paradigm shift. Things had to get this bad for us as a society to wake up.
Yeah.
Things had to get this bad. And now we are here. And I can't think, tell me, is there something we've missed? Is there something that's been missed in the last couple of years between all of the world watching George Floyd be murdered underneath the knee of a rogue police officer who felt so entitled to take that man's life that he didn't even take the phone away from the young woman that filmed it because of that level of hubris. We've lived through, some of us have lived through a global pandemic that none of us have any immunity naturally built up against, and have lived in isolation. And now we're living with, I don't know, I would have to say contempt. I feel nothing but contempt for individuals that think that they have the rights to intrude on my personal autonomy of my body. Yeah. And we have a world that's at war. Just because we don't have boots on the ground in Ukraine doesn't mean we're not at war with Russia. We're at war with Russia.
We're at war.
And the EU and all of NATO and everyone that's pumping weapons into that decimated country that a few months ago was one of the most beautiful on the planet, with 1,000-year-old cities that are now rubble with countless bodies buried beneath those buildings. We are on the precipice of self-destruction as a planet. I told you what happened on February 24th. I know I called you. And I felt it coming. I knew it was coming. I knew it was going to be terrible. And on February 24th, I took my cup of coffee and I went early in the morning and I sat in my terrace garden and I looked up at the sky and I said, oh, please, Oh, please. We're in so much trouble. Please break your own rules. Intervene on our behalf, please. We are in so much trouble down here. And, basically that's my daily prayer. Please just intervene because, and I know better. I know better than to even say it. You know better than to even say it. And yet there are times that it just bubbles up and the words come. And I got the clearest message back that I have ever received from the galactic family, just as clear as it could be. And this is it, verbatim. If we are here, this planet and its people are in crisis. We are here. And implicit in that message was a capital we. We. They are us. We are them. We are here. Here we are.
Help.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so tonight, Deb, you and I, soul sisters, star sisters, do our part to certainly to vent, but also to do our part to educate. Mm-hmm. And I find that often part of educating others, at least giving them the opportunity to open their mind to any particular subject matter, is to personalize it, mm-hmm. is to just personalize it, to tell that personal story that makes them, for just a few moments, put themselves in the shoes of another, to put themselves into the plight of another, for just those few moments where they realize that because of rules and regulations imposed upon us over the course of history, lives have been altered, lives have been ended, lives have been permanently changed because of a lack of rights that once extended have now been retracted. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know you live in a part of the country where you come up against opposing viewpoints regularly. And I'm sorry about that. Unfortunately, we can't all live with our tribe. I wish we could. Right. I think we should, all pitch in, buy a big ass piece of land, pitch about 1,000 tents, and go communal.
Absolutely.
Just so that we can be sane and we can just get together and
right.
I'll have a small Stonehenge built in the middle of it, and we can all gather there in the morning and have our coffees, just witch out together. We've got to live in a society that has numerous points of view, but when the point of view of one person infringes upon the freedoms of another, that's when the line has been crossed. And to say that a line has been crossed, not just today, but yesterday, that a 102-year-old law on the books of New York was just kicked to the curb by radical extremists that think that everyone in America should be armed at will so that we can have some more mass murders.
Yeah. If that doesn't scare the hell out of you, I don't know what will.
I don't know what will. And, you live in gun country, and you live in, what people up there refer to as God's country, like they've got the exclusive.
Right.
So I see it every time I go up there. I live in the bluest county in Florida, but that doesn't mean that I don't have to take my flamethrower to the Trump posters, now and then that are still up. Right. Like, this isn't over somehow. And, I very often feel, and I'm just going to speak very honestly with you, Deb. I've never withheld, not ever withheld with you or my viewers, my friends, my family. But I'm really at a point now where I wonder if I belong here and what difference ultimately I can make in the world. Like, what difference does it make? What I say? What difference does it make? We all have those moments of hopelessness and feeling powerless. And I always try to somehow rise above it and get beyond it and get my head screwed on straight. But frankly, I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
And I feel like for every step we take forward, we take 10 back.
Right.
And I don't know why. I don't know why it has to be this way, because this is not the truth of who we are. I don't believe that. I don't believe that what happened today and what happened yesterday is a reflection of who we are cumulatively
Right.
in this country. And we have got to come to an understanding that at some point we have to take back the night. We have to take back the light. We have to take back our rights, because what happened today regarding our rights is so wrong. So wrong.
Right. It is so wrong. And I beg people to just open your heart a little bit, to think about your daughters, your granddaughters, your grandsons, your sons. And again, this does affect everybody. Excuse me, I have a cough too.
You got the COVID, honey?
No, I have terrible Michigan sinuses, though.
I'm so sorry.
I'm allergic to everything outside.
Well, all
I
of
love
this
being
has
outside.
moved down now, so at least I can breathe through my nose again. But oh my God, this has been horrible.
Yeah.
And I can't smell or taste anything.
Oh, no.
I could have eaten dog food tonight and not known the difference.
Yeah, see, now I'm going to cough more.
I'm so sorry. Hold on, let me get the peanut so she can say hello.
Oh,
Peanut.
there you go.
Behold.
Oh, there
Behold.
she is.
The peanut butter.
Aw, look at those kisses. And that sweet face.
She had the nervous breakdown today too, Deb.
Oh, was she
had the nervous breakdown. There was thunder and there was lightning.
Oh, no.
And there was shaking and quaking and terror. And I had to be her thunder shirt for hours. Didn't I?
Poor baby.
Baby.
It's heartbreaking.
I'm so glad she doesn't know what's going on in this world.
Yeah. Or maybe
the perfectly happy life.
Yeah. I hope they don't know. I really hope they don't know.
Yeah. Well, she certainly knew that I was stressed, and she licked the tears away from my face. And my father, oh my God.
Excuse me.
My poor father. I mean, my poor father. He's as upset as I am, but he doesn't even get a chance to express it because, I am just like a well of,
Yeah.
And he just sits and shakes his head. And, I jumped all over him like a wet setting hen this morning. Bless his heart, for months and months, as I've been warning him, excuse me, that this is coming, this is coming, this is coming, warning him. And he has been absolutely belligerent about that. Will never happen in this country. Right. This will not happen. And
it's unbelievable that it did.
Yep. At 10 o'clock this morning, I said, the next time I tell you, the next time I forewarn you about what's coming, whether it's a war in Western Europe or it is a war on women's rights in the United States, you'd better listen to me.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear your alternate point of view that I don't know what I'm talking about, that would never happen in this country, because here it is. This is now.
Right.
Oh, the poor
But many
guy
of
had
us
to run.
believed. I mean, I told, like I said earlier, I still, even knowing that,
I know.
I mean, we had
I
the
know.
information. It was still a big shock. And I said to a few people that really, I mean, they can't happen in this country. We've come too far. We fought too hard. That can't happen here.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And it did.
Yeah.
And now we have to deal with that. Now we all have to deal with that.
And we have to deal with it forcefully, peacefully, but forcefully.
Right.
We do. This isn't, this is no time to be demure. This is no time to be demure. I'm sorry, honey. I have a fever and I'm really hot.
I know. I must be empathizing with you, because all of a sudden, the last 3 minutes, I'm extremely hot.
Yeah.
Can't stop.
On fire.
Yeah.
Like on fire. Like my face is melting off here. I'll blame my dog. She's like a little furnace right in my lap here.
Right.
Here's my baby. My so sweet.
See, and your cough. We do this.
And I meant it. It really is a curse to be a woman. It really is. I mean, there are, of course, many blessings, but it is a curse to be born a woman in this society and almost in every society on this planet. And we have to change that. Yeah. We have to change that. Right. And the only way to change that is for women to assume positions of power and responsibility where we can stand up for our sisters globally, worldwide. Right. We have to do that. If we fail to do that, then it will be the beginning of the end of humanity. Yeah. Because it will. Right. I mean, we are really at a time now where, a handful of men on this planet are calling the shots.
Yeah.
Whether it's, there's 63 dictators on this planet. 63 dictators. And also there's a wannabe in Bedminster, New Jersey. The people of the world have to stand up. The people of the world have to stand up. And that means the men along with the women who get it. Right. The men along with the women who honor their mother, who honor their wives and their daughters, who cherish our ability to be the lovers, the nurturers, the keepers of the flame, the ones that protect and defend, the ones that fight for our own. Yeah. We are, greed has taken over this planet.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely consumed this planet. And those that make the rules, to the victor goes the spoils. Yeah. And all too often, I don't know if I ever told you the story, but the guy that founded PayPal, the reason I don't use PayPal, is because the guy that founded that company is on record in public 6 times. Thiel, I believe his name is, saying that the worst thing that ever happened to America was when women got the vote. And he will never see a dime of my money. Not a single dime of my money will he ever receive. My hard-earned money going into his pocket. Not ever. You see, because we vote with our pocketbooks, and we vote in a voting booth, and we vote by putting on our sneakers and going out and making, as, oh my God, good trouble.
Yeah.
Good trouble. We need to make good trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to be loud and rambunctious, because that's the only way to get noticed. It is the only way, is to meet it head on. So let that fraction of our population who is celebrating this ruling, and the women among them who are celebrating the loss of their own rights to autonomy,
Right.
celebrating, relinquishing that, willingly relinquishing that. Let this be their moment to celebrate. It will not be long lived. It will not be, because no one, absolutely no one, has the right to impose their personal belief system on the entire rest of society.
Right. Right.
The vast majority of Americans, and that includes Democrats, Republicans, and independents, believe in a woman's right to choose.
Right.
Wanted to see this ruling go another way.
Yeah.
And so we have to decide, how do we handle this now?
Mm-hmm.
I think that personally, we need to reinitiate a Women's Bill of Rights, and that the Equal Rights Amendment must be codified into law, and it must be expanded and extended to
Mm-hmm.
include our right to self-determination of our own bodies.
Yeah.
It's pathetic that we would have to do that. Pathetic.
It is.
To put it into, I mean, apparently, that's the only way that this Supreme Court will even accept the existence of an implicit right to privacy.
Right.
You know, none of those judges would want anybody busting into their bedroom to pass judgment on what they were doing, whether or not they were using birth control, whether or not, how dare they peer into the doctor's office during a woman's examination. And yet there are states right now with rules on the books, where for all intents and purposes, a woman who is procuring an abortion can be arrested right off the table.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, that's what's happening in America right now. Make no mistake about it. That is happening right now in Texas. It is happening right now, which they need to secede from the friggin' union, as far as I'm concerned. That's a wastoid state. I really do. I hold out no hope for Texas. Sorry. I'm like all done with Texas.
I know. When you're talking about my state, all I could think is, thank God it's not Texas.
Yeah. And I think
we do have a
thinks
wonderful governor.
Texas. But this is Oklahoma. This is Missouri. This is Mississippi. This is Alabama. We are right on the precipice here in Florida of criminalizing abortion. Mm-hmm. That will happen within the next month or two. And this is spreading like wildfire, like a disease all over this country.
Right.
Where a handful of people make the decision for all.
Right.
In terms of the only rights that we have, which is, we're born into this world supposedly free. Free of what? Free of what law being imposed upon us based on what principle? Mm-hmm. Free of what? And again, allow me to reiterate, no one is free until everyone is free. No one is free until everyone is free. You and I have friends and family who are transgender, who are biracial, who are, I have a great nephew who is biracial, who cannot even take the bus to school in Georgia because of the bullying that he endured. His mother takes him to school every day, and his grandmother picks him up every afternoon so that he can ride in peace and not be pushed around and not be called horrific names and not be treated like some low-class citizen that has no right to be on that school bus with all the white kids. It's unacceptable.
Right.
Absolutely unacceptable. And it has had a profound effect on him. It has. He is very introverted. He has had a great deal of difficulty making friends. He is shunned. It's almost like if somebody tries to befriend him, they are treated so badly by their other friends that they back away from him, because as though he is some kind of a social pariah, and he couldn't be a sweeter young man than he is. He couldn't be more lovely than he is, and so sensitive, and has been so hurt over and over and over again for something that is not his fault. He's a couple of shades darker than I am, but he doesn't match and he doesn't blend in.
Mm-hmm.
And the racism, the pervasive racism in this society is rearing its ugly head, along with the misogyny, along with the rampant sexism that goes on in our society. And, you know, the women that are celebrating this relinquishing of their own rights may someday wake up to what they have accepted and wake up to what they have endorsed.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is, Deb, there never would have been a President Trump if 25 million women in this country did not think that his brand was somehow the strong and take charge kind of guy that they want at the helm. And he has all but destroyed this country.
Right.
He has all but destroyed this country. Our democracy is hanging by a thread, by the precipice, because of him. And there are insurrectionists that are currently serving themselves in our Congress, and we're paying their paychecks. And they ushered insurrectionists into the Capitol and showed them around and gave them blueprint maps of where and how to attack, where to find the Speaker of the House. Right. Here you go. And 5 people died that day. And they don't want to watch the hearings because they don't want to hear the truth. And it is time for truth. It is time to speak our truth in this country and let it echo all over this planet, and stand up for ourselves and for our daughters and our granddaughters and for our mothers and our grandmothers and our aunts and our friends and our loved ones, and to stand up and say, no more, enough.
Enough is enough. No more. We're done. And don't you find it awfully convenient that this kind of happens during the hearings?
Yeah.
What a distraction, huh?
What a distraction this is. Personally, I want to see members of the court impeached for lying to Congress. I want to see them impeached for lying to Congress. All 3 of them. Mm-hmm. They all lied. I watched the film footage today. I watched every one of their hearings from beginning to end. I wanted to know what they were claiming. Yeah. Susan Collins, again, I got, they misrepresented. Oh, really? Oh, I think Trump has learned his lesson. Really? Okay. Really? You really think that, Susan? Yeah. You think that?
Wake up.
Maybe it's time to retire because you're senile, because you don't see reality staring you directly in the face.
Right. It's time to wake up.
Yeah.
Everybody. It's time to wake up. And it's time to realize that human rights have no place in politics.
No.
We're using this whole political system to control human rights, women's rights, gay rights, all rights, right to privacy. This is insane. This is bullshit. I'm angry. I'm sad. I'm angry. And I hope everybody else, every woman on this planet, every compassionate male on this planet, everybody is going to be affected by this.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are, what your political stance is, what your Christian beliefs are. Everybody will, at some point, be affected by this.
I want the rest of the women on this planet to see us stand up.
Yeah.
And to see what kind of trouble we can get into.
And stand up with us.
And stand up with us.
Stand up. This is your right. This is your life. This is your daughter's life, your granddaughter's life.
We are the majority sex on this planet.
Yeah.
We are 52% of the population on this planet. Mm-hmm. And still functionally the minority. And that's what's got to change.
Yeah.
That's what's got to change.
And
the whole hierarchical system has got to change. This is it will not do. This shall not pass.
We've been
without resistance. Without resistance, be the resistance. Yeah. Be the light. Be the resistance. Say no to unreasonable demands. Mm-hmm. And these are unreasonable demands. And the next person that gets in my face and says, my body, my right, and no to a vaccine, but your body, my right to tell you what you can and cannot do with your own body, will come headlong into the face of pure deductive reasoning.
Right.
Because I can take them off at the knees in 10 words or less.
Yeah.
And I will do so. And I don't care who is alienated. And I don't care who walks away. I'm not here for everyone. I am here to inspire and to empower those who get it, those who are awake, those who are tuned in and turned on to the changes which are so rapidly taking place and the expansion of the frequency and what resonates on this planet in terms of all of us tapping into the unified field of consciousness and coming to terms with the fact that we are all one race, one human race, and we are all equal. And if it is true that we are all born with certain unalienable rights, where are they today?
Yeah.
Where are they today? I'm not angry. I am enraged. I am enraged.
Right.
I am filled with contempt for what is happening in this country and what is happening on this globe. And yeah, do I want them to get their asses down here and help us and intervene? Yes. But you know what? By saying these words and by putting this out and by understanding that the only way for us to survive is certainly first and foremost by not overpopulating the planet to the extent where there are no resources left and we can all just die of mass starvation, which of course we've already seen the beginning of, because Ukraine being the breadbasket of the entire world and having all of their grain being offloaded and sold on the black market by the Russians, who are stealing it out of the silos in their ports. You know, maybe that's something that we need to take a look at. And you know what else I got to say about this? The United Nations can kiss my lily white Yankee ass. You tell me why Vladimir Putin still has a veto on the United Nations Security Council. Why? They have done nothing. Yeah. They have done nothing to intervene on behalf of the Ukrainians and on behalf of the peace-loving sovereign nations of the world, except let him retain power at the highest echelon of government and world government. It's unacceptable. It is absolutely unacceptable. And if they cannot come to terms with this, then they need to seal the doors, because they're nothing but talking heads.
I'll drink to that. I'm with you. It's time. Those, oh, geez. Sometimes it almost makes our problems seem small when you think about Ukraine, because at least we have our cities. We have, our people are here. But what's happening there affects the whole. There's an effect all the way around. Every single person on this planet will suffer because of what's happening in Ukraine.
So how do we raise the vibration when the vibration is being generated by hatred, fear, and loathing?
Right. And as we said earlier, it's the minority. The minority is what is ruling this entire world right now. Every country. And it's up to all of us to stand up and say, no more. No, enough of the hate, enough of taking away human rights, enough killing, enough murder, enough, white powerful men who think they're powerful, being in office and ruling the people. This is our world, a world awakening. I'm seeing it right in front of my face.
Yep.
It's time that we all wake up and realize this is our world.
It needs to be a world awakening to the possibilities of what could happen on the other side of this shift.
Yeah.
This seismic shift, which is occurring. That
It
thing that knocked so many of us flat this morning, that we lost the ability to breathe because we could not believe that this actually has happened.
Yeah. And like you said earlier, Andrea, many people are feeling hopeless right now. I have gone back and forth with that all day myself. There's nothing. You feel so useless, so hopeless, but we can't give up.
No, we can't succumb to that.
For the betterment of the whole.
It is, those are base human emotions.
Oh, absolutely.
And, absolutely legitimate for us to feel them.
Yeah.
But we can't dwell there.
No.
And, that's been the real challenge for me. Yeah. The real challenge is not to dwell there.
Right.
And, to try to look up and see that there are other options, that there are unlimited possibilities in a creative world, that we don't have to always succumb to our 3D, almost binary existence, that it is all, it is not all written in stone. We live into and create our own destiny. We have free will. Yeah. It is our willingness to exercise it and to come out of the shadows, to just come out of the shadows. And that's really hard when, for the last couple of years, many of us have lived the most isolated existence of our entire lives. Yeah. Children are having breakdowns. They don't even know how to go back into school. And now they're terrified to go to school because they think they're going to be killed in their classroom.
And they might be.
Yeah.
Real possibility.
We have, a serious mental illness crisis going on in this country. These are things that need to be addressed right now, not, rescinding rights of more than half the population. Not that. No. Why don't we deal with the real issues, the core trauma that we are feeling as a society? This is, the boiling point, I believe. I think that this will prove, as last summer was a summer of discontent, so will the heat of this summer prove to be equally, if not more so, a statement of opposition and upheaval. And I don't want it to resolve to violence. And I do not want lives lost over supposedly trying to save them. We are so, we function as societally, we function so counterintuitively on so many different levels that it really is, logic is just thrown out the window.
Right.
But I really implore people to really think about this, to for a moment put yourself in the shoes of a terrified child who has been victimized and then re-victimized and will now be re-victimized because of something that she had no control over at all. Just that one child who might go hang herself in her bedroom closet like a girl did in Villa Rica a few years ago after she had been raped by her teacher, and the judge in the case told her that she looked older than she was and dressed provocatively, and it wasn't his fault. And she left that courtroom and she went home and she went into the garage and got her father's rope and hung herself in her own closet rather than live one more moment with the kind of shame that was showered on her by a 68-year-old white, fat Republican judge who couldn't see the nose on his own face. He is responsible for her death. He is responsible for her death. And shit like that happens in this country all the time. This isn't stuff that happens in third world countries.
Right.
It happens right here. Now, thankfully, the people of Villa Rica, Georgia, recalled him and basically fired him. But that was the only thing that happened to him. She lost her life. He lost his job. Am I angry about this?
Hell yes.
God damn it. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Because it is that attitude, that perspective, that judgment, that kind of ugliness and ignorance that perpetuates what we are dealing with right now in this country. And I, for one, with my last breath, will defend a woman's right, whether or not she'll defend it for herself. And I know you stand with me.
I stand with you.
Beautiful sister.
1,000%. 1,000%. And I know that you have some of the most wonderful, amazing listeners.
I know. I think great.
So, yeah. I'm going to beg them to use your voice. Every single voice is needed right now.
Yeah.
Use your voice. Use your, make phone calls, emails, call the White House, do whatever it's going to do.
Oh, yeah, I've got that number posted right here in Congress, too. I'll just go ahead and put it on my wall. Yeah, it'll only go out to about 25 or 30,000 people in, a split second. So, yeah, that's that, that one little thing that I can do. Yeah.
Yeah. And if we all do it, can we make a difference?
Yeah.
Very possibly. If we don't do it, will we make a difference? Hell no.
No.
And what you were talking about, the story about the young girl, will become more and more and more the norm. People are becoming desensitized to it. This is all the hatred, the shootings. It's all becoming the norm.
Yeah.
We can't stay quiet any longer. Every single one of you listening and anybody that listens later, use your voice.
Use your
Write
voice.
Letters, make phone calls.
Yeah.
Talk to people.
And vote. Vote like your life and your freedom depends on it, because it does.
Absolutely. It really, truly does. And the lives of, our children and grandchildren and even beyond that.
Yeah.
They all depend on it. If this world is going to make it, we have to all be proactive.
Yes.
Everybody has to use their voice.
Yes.
Vote. Run for office. Annie, I think you You'd be great
Oh,
at that.
honey, they would burn me on the steps of the Capitol so friggin' fast. It would make your head spin. Oh, my
Maybe.
God. Can you imagine me on the floor of the Senate? Can you
Yes.
really? They
Yes.
would scatter like rats off a sinking ship.
I love it. I love the visual I'm getting with that.
I think that I can do more good
Yeah.
outside the Beltway.
Right.
I really do. Because if I were, can you imagine me in the same room with Josh Hawley? Can you even imagine? Can you even imagine me coming face to face with Ted Cruz? Can you even imagine?
I would love to be there for it.
And Mitch McConnell, oh, he would just hide
That
from
would
me.
help.
My reputation would precede me.
Yeah.
Well, on that happy note, we need to, I don't know where 2 hours went. I say that frequently, but tonight I really, really mean it. I don't know where 2 hours went, babe.
I don't know either.
But I implore everyone to, think about this and to come to a place where you feel empowered enough to do something. Because if all of us do something, eventually, we will crack through this 3D shell that we have been condemned to, and we will rise into the sacred feminine energy, and we will meet the dawn in the fifth dimension and beyond, and we will inexorably and permanently alter the trajectory of all life on this planet to the good. And I have to believe that, or Deb, I just wouldn't even want to be here anymore. Not anymore, because I'm tired. But I'm not so tired that I'm ready to fold. I'm not. I will get some sleep tonight. I will kick COVID's ass.
Yes, you
and
will.
I will move forward, hopefully tomorrow, that it will be a brighter and a better day. And so I say, put your marching shoes on. It's time to hit the streets and bring a big ass bottle of water, because it's hot out there.
Yeah.
So with that, I thank you. I thank you for joining me tonight. I love you with all my heart. I love all of my viewers and my listeners, and those among us who are at least willing to open their minds and open their eyes and see that this kind of destruction will not stand, and that we must reclaim our rights, and we must move forward, hopefully, into the future, and we must define our own destiny and live into it and write our own story, page by page, chapter by chapter. And on that note, I thank you, and I love you, and I love all of you. Please be safe and be sound, and be the light the world needs.
Yeah.
Good night.